All right, let's flip this around. Let's put that there. All right, here we go. And welcome back to the halftime report with Pudge. Go on, Pudge. 2 minutes past the big hour, 7 o'clock, 7:02 on the big clock on the wall. Locked and loaded, the blowtorch of all that is sport, ELO's rock and roll, baby. KSIX Corpus Christi, 12:30 a.m., 95.1 FM. They were legal. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, and we're streaming live on the internet, kids. Just go to PudgeNation.com, and you'll see a button there where you can actually listen to the show. Let's say you're no longer in your car, but you want to continue hearing this, or maybe you're in an area where you can't hear the station anymore because you're on your way to Houston or San Antonio. Well, what you're able to do is just go to the app, go to PudgeNation.com, and you'll see the button, click that, and all of a sudden, boom, man, you're hearing us, okay? Not a problem. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, yeah, you're listening to America's only rock and roll sports talk show. Also happens to be the only talk show in America that when it's all said and done, talk show host, right side of history. Don't believe me? Ask Kyrie. All right, call the show at 884-1230, 884-1230. Text the show, 361-884-1230. Include the area code, kids, or we don't get the text. So 361-884-1230. Oh, and sign the thing, will you? Otherwise, I got to take 11 points off. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, yeah. Facebook Live, Monday through Friday. We go live on Facebook. That's the name. The show's on Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 a.m. Well, at the top of each hour at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock, we go live, baby. So they're on Facebook. All you have to do, go to Facebook, type in Pudge Nation, like it, and follow it, and then you have access to all the mayhem. Zuckerberg there with Facebook, Tom, he was all proud of himself there for about half an hour until he saw what his neighbor pulled off. $44 billion. That's billion with a B, as in billion. Okay, because walking around chump change is what I'm trying to tell you. You're looking for a happy hour. It's like, man, I only got 44 billion here. You got a place where we can get some margaritas for like $1.50 for like 3 hours? Elon Musk. Nobody should have $44 billion at their disposal, And so he's going to take Twitter private. So it's no longer will be a publicly traded company. So that means that basically he's like Mr. Hooper. He owns the store. He's going to do it the way he wants to. And you can't say anything about it because it's no longer public. It's, where you have shareholders and you have stockholder meetings and the votes are taken. Well, you can do this, you can't do that because the stockholders said so. This now, Twitter, this is a part of the game I don't think anybody, A, considered, and B, realized was going to actually happen, much less in our lifetime. Yeah. But this changes the game for about 5 minutes. We're now going to see what it's like with the status of social media and what it means to the world in a way of communicating. I mean, look at the war that's happening with Russia, right? And the Ukraine. Part of that war is being battled through social media. We had a presidential election, 2 of them now, where we don't know who these sinister people are, but people that are out there that actually had an influence on the way America thinks on purpose. Now, this is documented. This isn't like up for conjecture. This is fact. They actually, on purpose, these sinister elements have put stuff on social media, having studied your algorithm of where you like to go when you're on Facebook and what articles you like to read, and thus they filtrated into your wall, your story, articles that, true or not, didn't matter. They just wanted to influence the way you think. Right. And so part of the problem of why our country is so divisive right now is because of the influence through social media. So now here you got a guy like Elon Musk, and let's say he's the greatest thing ever. Let's say he is he's the Messiah, the guy we've been hoping for to save us from social media and all its ugliness.
Okay, we can do that as long as we face the fact that what you're doing there is you're going to the crazy edge of hypotheticals.
Okay, well, yeah, I know. Yeah, well,
the dude is not any of those things you just said.
Well, work with me.
Suppose.
Hey, Margie, work with me on this one, all right? Let me finish my thought. And that is that let's say, that's why it's called a hypothetical. Let's say he's all of that, right? Okay. And his intent is pure as the driven snow. He is righteous. He is correct. He, like I said, everything about him is what we were hoping for, right, as a people. And now he's in charge of, if not one of, definitely, if not the, then definitely one of the largest platforms of social media on planet Earth. And now he's in charge, where he's able to wake up one morning and go, I feel this way. And because I feel this way, my company that I own privately, in this case Twitter, will now operate under the policies of the memo I just sent to them of what we're going to do from this point. Then the next day, he wakes up and goes, I feel different. And because, once again, he doesn't have to answer to a board. He doesn't have to answer to stockholders. He just has to answer to himself and his own soul. He will dictate. But meanwhile, that product is still available to everybody. So now all of a sudden, he basically, he's Big Brother. He is now Big Brother in that on top,
holding company.
Let's say he really, thank you, Janice. Let's say he doesn't, like I said, everything about him is righteous. Everything about him is sincere from the heart, and it is beautiful. Law of statistics says, because we're all human beings and we're flawed at best, somebody's not going to agree with him. Even though his heart's in the right place, his intent is just beautiful. We all just wish everybody, your mom's going to go, why can't you be more like him? Whatever, right? Okay, doesn't change the fact that there's going to be, statistically speaking, there will be a group of people that do not agree with what he's doing. And it's one thing to say, well, then don't use his product. And that's fine. Only problem is that it's Twitter.
Right.
Okay, we're not talking about widgets. We're not talking about an oil filter. We're not talking about chalk. We're talking about a platform of social media that already, from the word go, we established a baseline. Here's the baseline. That spot right there, already ruler of the world, because it has so much influence from a political landscape, a social landscape, and a personal landscape. And now it's in the hands of one person. This is going to be an interesting social experiment, because already we're going to see how this plays out with the midterms coming up in November. But that's kind of that's light. That's like midterm light. Okay, when this is really going to come into play is 24. In 2024, when we're up for the next round of presidential elections, will we have a Trump in there or not? And if not, will we then have a guy like DeSantis? Will we have a Greg Abbott? Will we have a Biden? Will we have a Kamala Harris? Will we have a Hillary jumping back into the wagon? Will Bernie give it another shot? We don't know. But whoever the players are that will arrive in the spring of 24 to go ahead and go, yep, I'm running. And now we will see the social experiment unfold, Tom, of how does this Twitter play out? We know how it played out in 20. We know how it played out in 18, right? So now we're going to see in 22. We know how it played out in 16. So it's already had an effect in elections going back to 2016. All right. So now here's the next one. But at least when that happened, it was a company that was publicly traded. So when the people rose and spoke and had outcry, the stockholders were some of those people and actually had a vote and actually had influence on, were able to move the needle one way or the other. In this case, we can jump up and down, scream and holler, and it means butkus, because he is going to be the end-all, be-all decision maker and decide what's going to happen, because he was the fella walking around with $44 billion. Yeah, that he can do that. And by that, he's not, he's going to say, I'm not doing that. But he can if he decides that he wants to flood his product with a whole bunch of pro and then fill in the blank. Let's say he's a big-time DeSantis fan. I don't know, but let's say he is. So what happens when here he is, he's in charge of social media, he's in charge of Twitter, and he floods Twitter with a whole bunch of just posts of how great DeSantis is. Well, you do that every hour on the hour for 65 days, guess what? Eventually, somebody who was on the fence is going to go, maybe that DeSantis guy is a pretty good guy. So you definitely can have an effect and an influence on how people think. Well, not right. Yeah. So anyway, this is going to be an interesting social experiment, but I think it goes back to there's not a single person on this planet that should be walking around with $44 billion that at their disposal. Because remember, $44 billion means that wasn't like all the money he had. No, I mean, he still, believe me, it wasn't like, okay, I've got $44 billion in my pocket and that's all I got. All right, well, you know what? The price is $44 billion. And now he's walking around with nothing. No, he's got 3 other pockets in his pair of pants. And
he's got his.
How much what?
How much should Elon Musk be limited?
In what?
In money.
Oh, the amount of money he has in his pocket? Whatever. If you're going to paint a picture for me that you're righteous and your soul's in the right place of what you're wanting to do with Twitter and you just want to help mankind, then if you have $44 billion, do you realize, and he did this already, he went to the UN and he told them, if you can show me how you would eradicate world hunger, I will give you the $8 billion that's needed. Because I think the UN put out a report, and I could be wrong in the details, but just go with the theme of this. Basically, the UN put out a report that says $8 billion, we get rid of world hunger. So Elon Musk goes, okay, I'll give you the $8 billion, but you need to show me how you're going to spend it. So the UN called his bluff, said, all right, here's how we're going to spend it. They've yet to see the $8 billion, okay? Say what you will about Bill Gates, but the guy basically looked at his children and said, you're not getting a penny of this. He and his ex-wife, his former wife, who has half his money now. And instead, they've done philanthropic things, they're going to go back into the gravesite penniless, is what their intent is. Oh, absolutely. But meanwhile, you got a guy like Elon Musk who, okay, if you're able to sleep well at night with your $44 billion and you're pulling a Joel Osteen, well, then good for you, Because I'm still waiting for Joel Osteen and his righteousness to actually put some of his money that he's got hidden in walls and actually help people, because I know that's what Jesus did, right? I know that when he walked around, he was all about helping people, and that guy was broke, right? That guy was homeless, didn't have a job, and he hung out with basically 11 hooligans, right? I mean, it was, that guy shows up at your house, you're like, nobody's here, right? Okay. Your mom would not be happy if you showed up at the house with Jesus. Mom, do we have an extra plate? What's that smell? Right? Okay. Oh, absolutely, right? The original microbrewery, right? So if you're going to be an Elon Musk, and I don't know what a number is. I'm not going to put a number on it. It's whatever your soul tells you is the right thing. Maybe I'm just speaking on my behalf. If I had $44 billion, I would be working so hard on trying to figure out how to help my fellow man with that $44 billion. If I've been blessed with $44 billion, I'm over here going, okay, let's give this to hunger. Let's give this to diabetes. Let's give this to heart, issues. Let's give this to the Ukrainian people okay, you're in a war. We're not going to fight your war, but we're definitely going to make sure that you don't end up in a mass grave. Okay, things like that, right? I'm over here going, how can I help? I know that if I've got, an extra $100 in my pocket, I'm not here trying to go, I'm the greatest thing, but I mean, I'm a flawed human being just like anybody else, but I know that where I come from, if I have $100, you have $100. If I've got $1, you've got $1. And so if you're in a place of need and I have the wherewithal to be able to help you, I sleep well at night. I really do. And so this is going to be an interesting social experiment to see what Elon Musk does now that he's the dog that caught the car. He now has Twitter. Okay? And so it was amazing how quickly that deal concluded, because just last week the deal was falling apart, and on Twitter, ironically, he wrote, time to move on. And all of a sudden, next thing you knew, the next day, hey, you know what? We're real close to wrapping up this deal, and we like the price tag, Gee, I don't know. All I know is that 72 hours later, the guy is writing a check for $44 billion and now owns. Somehow he didn't move on, And so We're just, unfortunately, we're all going to be, we're the people in the movie that you see, like when you watch Batman and all the mayhem happens and you're wondering, why don't these people move? Well, why are they stuck in Gotham? It's always raining and they got weird people. They got a penguin, they got a Riddler, they got all these people that just, killing people, blowing up buildings, dressed weird, and doom and gloom. And all the people are looking like a picture out of the Bible, in their hands, a whole bit. And you're going, move, man. Go to Davenport, Iowa, dude. Plenty of sunshine, no penguins, right? But no, everybody's like, no, I got to stay in Gotham City. Where I'm hoping the hero, some guy in a latex outfit, is going to come and save the world, right? Okay, well, that's basically who we are right now. We're living a scene in Batman. We are the people in Gotham City of like, well, move. Move where? Twitter is everywhere. If you go to China, Twitter. Japan, Twitter. Philippines, Twitter. Guam, Twitter. Mexico, Twitter. Central America, Twitter. The Congo, Twitter. Antarctica, Twitter. England, Twitter. Russia, Twitter. Florida, Twitter. It's everywhere. On the space station, Twitter. Okay? Twitter is there. You can't go anywhere. It's there. So we are now being forced to watch this crap show unfold in front of us. I am desperately hoping that now that Twitter's in the hands of this fella, somehow miraculously, he does something right with it, in that it actually improves the quality of our life, which is what not Twitter, but social media was supposed to be to begin with. When they invented the internet, they said, wouldn't it be cool if you could have a conversation with anybody, anywhere in the world through your computer? That's all it was basically a chat room. That's all it was. And then they said, wouldn't it be cool if at your fingertips you had access to every product? In other words, like every book in the library. Without having to go to the library, imagine if you had access at your home, in your living room, to every book that was ever written. And you're like, ooh, that's kind of fascinating. That's how this whole thing started. Now all of a sudden, you got people arguing, you've got porn, you've got headlines of just like, okay, I don't remember showing any interest in this. All of a sudden you say a word, and next thing 5 ads shows up on your wall. You're like, all you got to say is, I can do it right now. I was thinking, I don't even have my phone on, but I could go, I was thinking of getting a turtleneck sweater. Watch how many ads by this afternoon there are on my social media platform offering me places to buy a turtleneck sweater. And I was like, dude, I was just joking. No. But I mean, yeah, I got a guy over here that texts me on the daily on how much he hates me, right? And says ugly things to me, right? Says I hate white people, right? Which is unbelievable. But okay, yeah, and he's comfortable with that. He's comfortable with that. He feels safe, and he thinks it's appropriate. And yet, the same person probably wouldn't have a hair on his ass to be able to stand in front of me and say the same thing to my face, because he's afraid that I would react and respond. Right. But you're sitting in your boxers, with your meatloaf stained T-shirt, and you're there and, Ma, meatloaf. Okay. And meanwhile, his furry little thumbs are there typing away, and he feels safe because he's hiding. He's a coward. And that's what social media has allowed. It's a whole bunch of cowards like the Penguin, like the Riddler. I mean, basically, we are living a Batman episode. When you see who the bad guys are in those movies, isn't it always a guy that was an outcast and nobody liked him and he was done wrong, and all of a sudden he's going to get even, he's going to get back, and he's hiding behind whatever sinister plan he's come up with, and he's with his furry little thumbs or whatever penguins have. All of a sudden, and then there they are.
Look who invented Facebook.
The penguin of all. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that happened. Yeah, you gonna eat that? No, anyway, so and meanwhile, we also had the Astros and the Rangers play last night. Rangers 6, Astros 2. They'll play again tonight, 6:40. We'll start the pregame on Sports Radio Corpus Christi. First pitch 7:05. Tune in for that. All right, we have a guest in the studio who's been very kind and patient, and as you can tell, Ronnie, we don't have a script. Okay, we make this up as we go. All right, so 3 hours, and this is it. You know, that's all I've got, and really, it's just like a little bullet point. You know, like for instance, for you, I wrote Ronnie Canales, Nueces County Chief Appraiser. Right? Yeah. Okay, there you go. So that's all. That's my script.
So you've done.
Yeah, I'm done. We're out of here. All right, Mike, turn everything off. We're going home. You know. Okay, so we just kind of go along, but kind of using the Batman analogy that I've kind of stumbled upon here. Once again, I didn't even know I was going to pull that, right? But it sounds kind of good, right? It's kind of working, isn't it, Mike? Yeah, it's working, right? Really? Anyway, let's use that with the latest soiree that also has everybody's attention, and I mean everybody, not just in Nueces County. Right. Bring in Mac, because he's part of this conversation. Hey, good morning, McClovio. How you doing, my brother? I'm all right. Yeah, I can hear you clearly now. The rain is gone. Yeah, you're in your car, I'm guessing, right? I always, I apologize to the world when I make McClovio sing. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah. Hey, guess what? Hey, we have a guest in the studio, man. You ready? We have Ronnie Canales, everybody's favorite. Yeah.
Good morning, McClovio. I hope you're doing well.
He's done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you're not alone, McClovey. There's a lot of people in the same boat that you're in today. And it's also, I was telling Tom and Mike here that this is a statewide issue. It's not just here in Nueces County. There's a lot of new construction that's in the city, in the county. And it's not just on one area of Nueces County. It's different spots. Corpus is growing. The county of Nueces is growing, so population growth it's on its way. And there's a lot of that to make sure that it happens. You have a lot of opportunities in San Patricio, and some of those people in San Pat are moving into Nueces County, and because of that, you have a lot of home builders that are actually opening up a lot of new subdivisions throughout the county. I was telling Tom that you can go down to London ISD, go look at that area there. Go down Yorktown Road past the New Del Mar, and you'll see on both sides of Yorktown where there's a lot of new construction, new subdivisions that are opening up, and people are moving in, they're settling and they're buying. Right now, what contributes to all this is that we still have a very good economy here in Nueces County. Everything is pretty much good. Plus, you've got low interest rates with your mortgage companies, and those interest rates are on the fixing probably within the next couple of months, if not already, are fixing to go back up again. And that's part of the inflation. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You are the man, and all I know is that I covered city and county courts for a while, and so did Tom. But and they're just explaining it to the people. We have an ad valorem tax. That means the taxes we pay on our property is based on the value of the property. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So if Grandma's house, she bought it for $19,000 back in 1960, is now worth $185,000 because of the location. The taxes then are raised to that level, right?
Well, the taxes, I can't talk for your taxes because we don't do that. What we do is we assign value to the property, what it's worth. After we certify the tax roll. Okay, the numbers. That's between April and July. By July 25th, the Appraisal Review Board will gather all the information, sign off on it. Then once that's done, McClovio, then we take all those numbers and then we hand those numbers out to all of our entities here in Nueces County, cities, schools, Del Mar College, and the county of Nueces. At that point, they start working on their budget. See, and what a lot of people miss, and legislatures, again, they're always making rules as to what you can and cannot do. And one of the new rules that came into play 2 years ago, that's actually for us to mail out a postcard to you to let you know when these entities are about to set a tax rate. The tax rate set by these entities is what creates your taxes based on the value that we put on there plus your exemptions on those properties. Okay?
That's the taxing entity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know.
But the value of grandma's house is still $175,000, right?
That's correct. That's correct. And that.
And it's up to the city, the county, the hospital district, the school district, all of them to set their own ad valorem tax, right?
Their own ad valorem tax rate.
All right, hang on. I need to dumb this down for Pudge. Okay?
Yeah,
Okay, so here's all I know. All right. By the way, we're talking with Ronnie Canales, who is the chief appraiser of Nueces County. We got McClovio on line 437. We got Tom in the house. We got Mike in the house. All right, here's the deal. All I know is, and let's go hypothetical. Okay. All I know is that last year, my house was appraised at $200,000. Okay? Just, there it is. Easy number. I got the mail last week, Ronnie, and all of a sudden that same house that I've done nothing to.
Right.
I didn't get a new roof. I didn't remodel. I didn't even plant a tree. I did absolutely nothing. In fact, my house deteriorated over that year, right? Because, well, that's what houses and cars do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All of a sudden, I open up my mail, and that same house that last year was $200,000, this year is $290,000. Why?
Well, because there's sales in your area. See, and that's why I started by saying that the economy is very good. Your interest rates in mortgage companies are very low. And right now, perhaps maybe a month or two ago, you can, if you got good credit, you get anywhere from 2 or 3%, even a 4% mortgage rate.
But
for
I didn't
30
sell
years.
my house.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But people around your area do. So when you turn around and want to sell your property, that's basically how it affects the entire neighborhood.
Okay,
See,
but
we
I
base
have
it
no
on
intent,
sales.
in real world,
Yes.
but it's in Bexar County. I have a house that my family bought in 1978. We paid $65,000 for that house.
Right.
Okay, in 1978. My neighbor, we grew up together, right? They just sold their house for $500,000 across the street. Okay, and that house is smaller than mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? So what does that have to do with me? I didn't do, if anything, like I said, my house deteriorated. So I know you don't set the tax rate, which that's why I always think it's cute. Like when the judge comes in, she's always proud of, hey, we didn't raise the tax rate. The mayor will come in, hey, we didn't raise the tax rate. Good for you. But you know what did raise? The appraiser. The appraiser did raise the value of my home, even though I did nothing to my home. Fine. That's the way the world works. I get it. But answer me this. Why such the steep increase this year compared to other years? What happened this year?
What happened this year, there's a lot of new construction, a lot of sales.
Well, there's always construction.
No.
This is stark. I mean, this is like holy cow level. You have my attention level.
Well, what it is that we're monitored by the comptroller's office, by the state. Okay?
Right.
And what they do is they come in and say your property values for your school districts have to be in a bubble of 95 to 105%.
Okay.
If you're less or over that, then that school district will get funding cut by the state until it comes up to that bubble for that area. So we have to basically, because they come in and audit, they have to come in and make sure that the property values that we have are pretty much in line with that. If not, your school districts are going to get funded.
Okay, but
it's part of what the state does. Okay, we have
so
to.
what did the state do this year that was so different? Because I've seen the appraisal of my home in San Antonio has always gone up, but although we're not happy about it, it'll go up 1,000 here, 1,000 there, whatever. This is like people are now having to make a really tough decision. Like, well, I guess we need to sell our home to pay the taxes. We're hearing about people in the future that here in the near future, there's going to be a lot of foreclosures because of appraisals going up, because people suddenly can't afford to pay the taxes. A minute ago, they had a house that was worth $200,000. Now suddenly they're sitting on a $500,000 property, and the tax guy wants his money now, right? So I know you're not the tax guy, but you guys do work in concert because they provide they set the tax rate, and if my home stays the same value, or better yet goes down in value because a year has gone by, a hurricane came through, a storm came through, and my roof suddenly is got dinged up, there was hail and all this stuff. Obviously, my house is not the same, at least to the eye, the same value. A tree fell down, whatever, plumbing got backed up, but all of a sudden, so I can, if anything, why doesn't my property value ever go down?
Oh, it does. It does. When
Not this year.
Well, no, maybe on your house, not this year, but in other properties they do. And it all depends too. You mentioned some things about your house, that you got some things that you hadn't done. Well, we don't go inside your house to see if there's anything wrong with it. The only time we do that, it's when you bring it up to our attention. During the months of April through July, when we start sending out the reappraisal notices, we ask you to come in. We ask you to bring information as to why your property should not be worth what it is. In other words, bring pictures. You can bring a contract, a listing of what the damage is in your property and what a contractor will charge you to fix.
Right.
We can work with you on things like that. On your hurricane, the same thing happened with the Hurricane Harvey, which was about 3-4 years ago.
Right.
Well, go down to Port Aransas and look at it today. Now, a lot of those properties, they were pretty much on the downside as far as value is concerned. But as of today, they're pretty much like they used to be back in 3-5 years ago. It took them that long to come back to where they're at.
Right.
Now, right now, we do have still, I think it's a couple of condominium projects that are still not off the ground because they're still in litigation with either the engineers or the insurance company or FEMA, one of those three. All right, so once they get done with that, then they can start doing what they need to do. But when Harvey was here, a lot of those people in Port Aransas, they brought documentation to justify why the value should not be what it was. And of course, we actually visually went out there and saw everything on a first-hand basis. We were there on the ground for about 3 months, going through each property to make sure everything was the way it's supposed to be. And then we went back the following year.
Right.
And we went back again another year to finally see, the way growth is. But coming back over here, a lot of things have changed. Like I told you before, the comptroller has emphasized that this is something, and it's not just Nueces County.
No, it's all happening all over the country.
It's all over the state of Texas. Travis County's at 56%.
Yeah, what the hell? Right.
Again, you mentioned San Antonio. Well, I have a daughter in San Antonio.
Right.
When COVID hit, what was it, 2 years ago?
2.5, yeah.
That was back in March, and when it first hit in March, she started looking for a house. Okay.
Right.
We found a house right off the bat, real nice, everything, less than 10 years old, but it had foundation problems. So we walked from that house. It took her from March of that year to 2 weeks before Christmas before she actually signed papers on a house to close in San Antonio. What happened after that first house, Mike, was that the listings were there, but you were actually bidding on a house.
Yeah.
More than what the listing was for.
Well, it is weird how all of a sudden, and it was the past year, the price of homes, I think all three of us can vouch for this between McClovio, myself, and Tom, where we've had friends or family that they went in and put in, like you just said, a perfect word. Yeah. They put in a bid for a house. All of a sudden, they were in a bidding war.
Yeah.
And the house across the street from me in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. $500,000. My siblings and I, we had to have a conversation going, so do we need to sell? We've always thought this house was going to be with us forever. Yeah. Mom and Dad passed away. It's now the three siblings, and we thought it would always be the house of Pudge. Right. There would always be a member of the family living in that house for generations to come. Now all of a sudden we're going, they just screamed $500,000, and we know we can get more than $500,000 because our house is bigger and it's better kept and a whole bit on our end. Mm-hmm. So people are having that conversation. I just find it weird that it's happening all of a sudden.
Well, on my neighborhood where I'm at, the house next door to me, it was listed on a Friday. Monday morning, they were signing closing papers. Why? And they got exactly what they were asking for.
Wow.
It was nothing less and nothing more.
And so because the house is selling for that much, the appraisal goes up.
Yes.
All right. Hey, we're talking with Ronnie Canales, who is the Nueces County Chief Appraiser. Tom, you got a question, sir?
We just need to clarify a couple of things.
All right, fire away.
So, Ronnie comes in and assesses the value of the property.
Right.
Correct.
Then, after that's done, that's when your taxing entities decide what to, how much tax rate should be and all that kind of stuff. So, and there's a mechanism the state has. It's called the effective tax rate, and it's supposed to tell you what your same amount of property as last year, gives you the same amount of tax revenue. So anything above that is a tax increase. Anything below that is a tax cut. Right. But it's based on the actual revenue, not based on what your tax rate was. Okay, which means sometimes you have to lower the tax rate to get the same amount. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, now right now I've got examples of properties here. I've got one. It was $199,000 value last year. Now it's $271,000.
From 1 year to the next?
Yes.
Wow.
1 year to the next. Now, what Ronnie's going to tell you is, I guess that's not even unusual. I got another $132,000 last year, $206,000 this year.
Jeez.
And so then the question is that the typical percentage that everything's going up, or am I way out of whack? Yeah. And then are those taxing entities going to adjust accordingly, or are they going to kill us all?
Well, here we go again. Your state legislatures have a lot to do with what we do, okay? What they did a couple of years ago, again, they set a cap rate for a tax rate for the city and the county, I believe. And I think they're capped at 3.5% on the tax rate. They can only come up to that 3.5%. They cannot exceed that, okay? In years past, it used to be a 5% increase or 6% increase set in a tax rate. But because now it's capped, that's all it can do. Now, like last year, we certified, let's say, the county of New Haven at 4% overall. That's what actually was the increase overall, a 4% increase. Well, does it do them good or does it do them bad? It goes effect with 3.5 cap that they got to do. Right. So the tax rate that they adjusted to was basically the same rate that's going to provide their budget for what they need to do. Okay, and the same thing's going to happen to the city. Before, it used to be that if it was at 10% increase, then these guys or these entities can set their own tax rate appropriate to that. And you would see more than 3.5% increase on the tax rate. Now, like I said, those are capped. This year, there's, in fact, the election started, I believe, yesterday, early vote,
right,
on Proposition 1 and 2. And one of them is to make an additional or make a $40,000 exemption on your homestead for your school district only. Okay,
right.
And that's a no-brainer. I'm pretty sure it's going to pass throughout the state, and that'll be implemented. And that's to help. Now, Port Aransas, School of Port Aransas last year, because Port Aransas is a very high-end property. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a lot of good stuff there, and your normal taxpayer there is basically moving out. Why is that? Because values are very much up there, and that's where your second and third homes are owned by a lot of different people coming in to Port Aransas.
You brought up that the election is happening May 7th, but early voting is happening right now, and there's two Texas state constitutional amendments that are being voted upon, and basically it's layman way as they're cutting the taxes for 65 and up. But something like that, right? But yeah, bottom line though is that's also taking money away from the school district.
Right.
If it's an affluent school district, they've got wiggle room. But if it's a non-affluent school district, this is crippling to them because this is crippling to the public school system. So it's kind of like, as a person, you're being put in a hard place. Would we all love to save money? Absolutely. Yeah. And then you have the argument, well, you know what? I don't have any kids in school, so this doesn't affect me. Right. And just like we were talking about Elon Musk, okay, why are you doing this? Is it for the betterment of you or for the betterment of you and your fellow man? Right. And this is where moral decisions are having to be made and so forth. So you say, and you're probably right, it's going to be an easy cut because everybody's like, dude, 40,000, where do I sign? Yeah. But at the same time, then all of a sudden they go, well, why is my grandchild getting a horrible education? Well, remember that 40,000 you just got? Okay, well, instead of it going to the school, it went to you, Grandpa. Okay, we're talking with Ronnie Canales, who is the chief appraiser of Nueces County. We got McClovio with us. We got Tom. We got Mike and myself. Uncle Andy's in the house. He'll be joining us here in a little bit. My question to you now, and final question. Okay, we understand that what happened, kind of. Doesn't mean we're happy with it. Doesn't mean we like it, but at least you've explained what happened. Okay, as a taxpayer, though, and I know you're not the tax man, but maybe you can help a brother out here. What do we do? What options do we have available to us to dispute? Like, if my house was 200,000 and now all of a sudden it's 300,000, and I did nothing to my house, and and I've got the roof is falling apart, and you guys just the appraiser went and raised it. Okay, what are my options as far as being able to argue, fight, dispute, whatever?
Okay, you can start by looking at your neighborhood to start,
Okay.
and see how many houses are for sale. Then you can call those listers or those realtors, and they'll tell you what the house has been listed for. So you get an idea of what the property is worth. Second, you need to come to the office if you have damage with your property, or don't damage at all. You got to bring some information as to why the property is not the worth that it's supposed to be.
Okay.
We can work with you so long as you bring in documentation to show us this. We're not going to just lower the property because it's me. You're going to have to lower it based on some things that are probably wrong with the property. We do make a lot of changes, okay? But once it's brought to our attention, we can look at it. We'll make a physical inspection of the property. And the only, like I told you before too, is that normally we do not go inside the house. Okay,
Right.
we can do the outside with or without your permission,
Right.
and then after that we send out your notices, what you did, and then you call in and say, I got this or I got that. Well, you need to come in and bring us a list of what your thing is and what it's going to cost you to repair,
Right.
whether it's through insurance or just a contractor on the property. Once you get that into the office, that'll be good. Normally it's good for at least a year.
All right, and so I'm a Nueces County taxpayer. How do I get in touch with your office? How do I make an appointment?
No, you just come in, you can walk
Just come
in.
in.
You just come in through the door.
Where are you
Or-
guys located?
We're at 201 Chaparral, across the street from the police department,
Okay.
or the service center on Chaparral. It's 3 stories. we have first floor. We have the exemptions. We got personal property there. Second floor, we've got administration, and that's where real estate and commercial land and ag is at. And then on the third floor, we've got our IT, GIS department and the appraisal review board people that are up there on the third floor. Here again, the way it works is you come in, let's say you agree, then you're done, okay,
Right.
on the number. But if you disagree, then we set you up at that point for an appointment to come back to talk to the appraisal review board.
Okay.
Now, those people are independent of us. We don't have anything to do with them. What you're going to do there, you will get 15 minutes or so to present a case. You present your facts. Appraisal district presents its facts. They will make a decision based on those facts. If the appraisal review board changes those numbers for your benefit, then that's good for 2 years, at least for 2 years.
Okay.
Now, the only time we can change within those 2 years is if if that area is reappraised again, and there are a lot of sales to justify an increase in all those properties again.
Right.
But if not, it'll stay for 2 years. The other thing too is, let's say that the appraisal review board doesn't change the number, okay? Which means it stays with the number of the appraisal district. Well, then you have an option to either litigate it by filing a suit, or you can mitigate. You can do one or the other.
Right.
But that's the only way that you can do that. You have to go through the appraisal review board.
All right.
Okay.
So once go ahead.
And right now, once we get the notice, we encourage people to either call in or come in. During COVID, we were closed completely to the public.
Right.
But, we had our computers, we zoomed in, and we had a lot of people that we took care of that way. We average, during the months of April through July, I think we had about 24,000 people with accounts last year. And the year before that, we had about 20 plus as well.
Okay.
See, the other thing that we have going too is that we have a lot of litigation issues, a lot of different lawsuits. Right now, we're litigating with Valero. We're going on 5 years. And these guys are very different than the normal person. All we say is that we've got them valued a little over $1 billion with a B. And, it's been 5 years. And they still feel that their property is only worth $650 million because that's what the taxes are paying on.
Oh, maybe they should call Elon Musk. I'm sure he'll pay their bill. You know, he's got a couple of bills laying around.
You know, and they're a big company, and I understand. I mean, they do provide some things here for the city and the county and stuff. But at the same time, though, they should be paying their fair share just here to local. Their own
Tom,
For what they're saying Valero's worth, we need to buy Valero. If they'll sell it to us for what they say it's worth, we need to buy it.
yeah, have the city buy it, right? I think we can afford it. All right. Well, here's the deal. First, we could go on forever because I mean, this is really what.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go and anywhere I go, this is what everybody is talking about.
Yes.
Is their taxes and their appraised property.
Right now, before we turn this off, I'd like to make sure you understand that if it's a homesteaded property, homesteaded property only, you're capped at 10%. The increase could be 30, 40%, but for that year, it's only going to be 10%.
Right.
It'd be looked at again for the following year to see the value is still there. If it's still there, then there'll be an additional 10% on what the value is, okay? Now, if you're 65 and over exemption, you're basically frozen on your taxes. So whatever you pay on that frozen amount, that's your ceiling. It will not exceed that, regardless if the value goes up. Okay?
Hang on. Let's see. I got a text here from Carlos. He says Texas is a non-disclosure state.
Yes.
You're having me go to you all and tell you how much the house next to me is going to be sold for. You basically want me to narc on my neighbor. I can assure you the county appraised value is less than the taxed value. Signed, Carlos. Everybody's, I mean, we're talking about money in our pockets and we don't want to give it away.
Correct.
Elon Musk, he has no problem giving away his money. The rest of us are like, we'd like to keep our money.
Right.
This is a conversation I don't think is over. It definitely needs to be something that we continue to visit.
Right.
And this goes back to why I say go and vote. I got to ask you, are you a hired individual or an elected individual?
No, I'm an appointed.
You're an appointed individual. Who appoints you?
The appraisal district board does.
And who appoints the appraisal district board?
The way the board is set up, the city has 2 appointees.
Okay.
They're appointed.
Right.
The county has 1. It's appointed. School district, CCISD, has 2, which are appointed. Del Mar has 1.
Okay.
That's appointed.
Right. So
Okay.
total, how many? That's how many? I lost
Well,
track.
then, so far, 2,
Right.
4, 5, 6.
Right.
And then you've got 7. You've got 1 that's elected from the outer school districts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the other one that's elected by the outer cities of Nueces County.
Gotcha.
See, and then you've got the tax assessor collector, Kevin Kishnick. He's he's there, but he's there because of his title.
Right.
Okay? He can sit on the board.
All right, so there's about 9 of you guys.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as always, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's never simple.
No, it's not. And you know, we try to do what's best. We try and be as transparent. We ask people to bring information so we can help you. If you just come into the office and say my property's not worth this, well, I can't help you.
Right.
I can't. Like you mentioned earlier, you might have had roof damage and things like that.
Right.
Well, we need to know that. You know, because that's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
And people will, I'm serious, you bring that information in, we can change things for you. But if you just come in and twiddle thumbs, we're not going to be able to do anything for you. Because when the auditor from the comptroller comes in to audit the numbers, then we need to have proper documentation as to why that property value went from this number to way down over
So I need
here.
to make an effort.
Yes,
All right.
exactly.
Well, Ronnie Canales, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope to see you again. We'd
No.
love to have you.
Anytime.
As I like to say, mi casa es su casa. All right, and you know, this story's not going away.
No.
And
No.
I know my audience, they are curious and want answers.
Yes.
So I appreciate you coming
See,
in like you did today.
and the trick is to make sure you make the meetings of these entities when they start setting the tax rate.
There you go.
The tax rate is what's going to affect your taxes.
Right.
Okay?
Got it.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Maclovio, can you stick? We got to do commercials. Mike's in a fetal position over here.
Absolutely, man. No
All
problem.
right. So when we come back, we'll get a weather forecast from Maclovio, and Uncle Andy's in the house, and we'll save another boring Tuesday. Halftime report with Pudge. Back after this. All righty. I want to thank, let's see here. I want to thank Simon and Ken and Eli and Ray and Rolando and Jaime and Robert and everybody. Mario,
he's
thank
on
you all,
phone,
Jose.
yeah.
Thank you all, everybody, for checking in. We greatly appreciate it. Have a mighty fine groovy day. Peace.